So as Miss Archer talked about last week, we talked a little bit about the time in between World War I and World War II, and to sum it up really well, we have money. Everyone likes the money. I'm sure if I gave y'all all a nice little George Washington, y'all would all be very happy. But here's the thing. What if the money that you had was not even useful, right? What if America went into so much economic problems that it was better to use that money for things like putting wallpaper on walls or burning so that you could have heat, things like that? This would be a crazy idea if you saw someone just tearing apart money like it was nothing. So what we have is we have a time period where the economy of the world is so bad that money is better used for those things that I just talked about. We're going to be talking about the Allied powers, so we're not going to be looking at as much of the effects, but we will touch on them a little bit of how things are going to really change because of the economic struggles of the world. So y'all are going to be talking about the Allied powers. Now, as I go into this video, I want to make sure you understand. So pay attention, okay? The thought is you're going to fill out this document, okay? As you fill out the document, you also need to be listening to what I'm saying as well, because you are going to, after watching this video, teach the other portion of the class what you learned. So what we learn in the Allied powers, that's your first blank. Make sure if you need to, you can pause. Make sure everyone's filling these out and getting it done before you continue on with the video. The Allied powers had a very similar structure of government. The Allied powers, especially America, have a democratic representative form of government. This means that we have certain people that we take and elect who are going to elect others, okay? This is shown in our electoral college and different things like that. So, on the left side of the page, we have Franklin Roosevelt, and he was president. He is known as FDR, and I will refer to him as FDR for the remainder of this unit. FDR is going to come to power in the middle of the Great Depression. He's going to bring a lot of change to America. He's going to bring a lot of the federal government to help people who are in dire straits during the Great Depression. So underneath that FDR blank, I want you to go to the bottom of his picture, and I want you to write, America has a representative democracy. Okay, then we have a big border, okay? The big border is showing the fact that these two groups that I'm about to talk about are separated. The commander-in-chief is FDR. FDR is going to be at the very top of Dwight D. Eisenhower, who is our guy on the very top to the left. George Patton, who is right next to him. And Douglas MacArthur, who is right below them. Now, during World War II, what would happen would be FDR would say, hey, we've got to go do this, and these generals would make it happen. But if FDR had decided, hey, we're not doing this anymore, or we're doing something different, then they would have to listen to his command because he is the leader. It's interesting to state that FDR is not an active general during this time. He is not someone who is currently on the front lines fighting, or is someone who is even near any of the combat of that day. So we're going to talk a little bit later about why is that important. Why does the structure of government that the Allied powers have change the responses of different countries? So underneath that we have Britain. We have on the left side, we've got a guy who looks real happy, really excited about being on this piece of paper and taking notes. His name is Winston Churchill. He is the Prime Minister of Britain. What happens is they figure out that you're not going to be able to stop Hitler unless you take military action. And Winston Churchill is going to be one of the first people that is yelling and screaming that, hey, we have got to stop Hitler. Okay? So whenever they figure out, okay, we've got to do this, they decide that we want the guy who was saying it earliest. And he was saying it super early in the 1930s that Hitler had to be stopped by military force. He does have a military background, but during his time as prime minister, he is not, I repeat, he is not a military leader. Remember, they command the military, but they're not a part of the military. So underneath that, I want you to write, Britain was a constitutional monarchy. That's a very fancy way of saying they had a king, but the king could only do certain things and had to follow certain rules. So whereas Hitler could do whatever he wanted, including killing countless individuals in his own country, if the British king, who was George VI, tried to do that, it would be stopped. People in his government would try to stop it, and his own military would most likely take him out of rule. So, we have a very different setup of governments. Russia is a very different topic, and we're going to talk about that a little later. But what I want to make sure that y'all understand is that these people who are in power, such as Winston Churchill, George VI, and FDR, are all people who have political power, but they don't have military leadership at the time of the war. This is important because it's going to create a separation like we have on the page. And we're going to talk, does that affect the outcomes, the beginnings of the war, and what we're going to lead to? I really appreciate you paying attention to this video. Make sure, please, please, please make sure, if you missed a note in any place, ask a friend, turn back to this video, ask me, and we will get it written out. So, I hope you have a great day. Ask me if you have any other questions, and I'm ready to start this discussion.